good enough to have a logically intelligible presentation. There's got to be something special that will make us fall in love. And inventors are guys that come up with something cool and they think it's cool, and probably their roommates think it's cool too, but it's not at all clear that most people will think it's cool. They're just not customer-centric. Unique and compelling, unfair advantage in pursuing whatever startup you want to pursue. So Garage Technology Ventures is a seed stage and early stage venture capital firm. We focus on brilliant entrepreneurs with brilliant technologies that have the potential of making a big difference in their target market sector. We invest across a wide range of technologies, including IT, communications, and software, as well as we do material science, renewables, energy tech, and clean tech. The biggest change, I think, for entrepreneurs has been how much more competitive the world is today in terms of every aspect of doing business, from getting customers to, in particular, getting venture capital. So the problem, of course, for an entrepreneur based here in Silicon Valley is that on any given weekend, there can be 2 graduate students in any corner of the world who can hack together some code and on Monday release it to 2 billion people. So, which is, in one sense, it's a wonderful aspect of the new world because everybody has access to those 2 billion people. But on the other hand, for entrepreneurs, it makes it just so much more competitive. So it really puts a premium on having been able to prove something before you have to ask for money. So generally, we're looking for teams to have demonstrated something extraordinary by the time they come to us. So no longer is it good enough, to have a great idea and maybe even some talented people. You've got to have demonstrated something incredible that's going to make the difference and make us pay attention. We are very open to entrepreneurs early on, but nevertheless, we encourage entrepreneurs to have a few things taken care of before they come even to us. The most important thing, which is kind of hard to articulate, but the most important thing is there's got to be something extraordinary that they can articulate when they first approach us. So we don't need all the proof points. We don't need even, a lot of traction for that first conversation. But what I tell entrepreneurs is it's really important that you be in some way lovable, because what I've realized over time is that it's not good enough to have a logically intelligible presentation. There's got to be something special that will make us fall in love. That's the difference between saying, I want to keep following you, I want to keep talking with you, I want to keep helping you, versus saying, well, good luck with that, and maybe someday I'll talk to you again. So, you've only got one time to make a first impression, right, as they say. So you got to have something special. Again, it doesn't mean you've got to have delivered everything, but something unique and compelling. So that's kind of the hardest thing to have. Part of that, which is sort of the rest of your question, it's very specific things, like ideally you've been able to hack together something that feels like at least a prototype, something to help us get a good picture in our mind of where you're going, and sort of what your general orientation and capabilities are. But even more important than that is we want to know that you've done something on the customer side. Either you come from the customer need, this was my role at this big company and I realized there was no solution for this problem. So I went out and created it. That's the kind of thing we love, because I know you've got deep domain expertise. I know you understand the application in your environment. So that's, the sort of thing we like. And then, sort of lastly, you just want to make sure that the basics are taken care of. We want to know that you've had good advice. You've got the right law firm that set you up, You're not messing up your cap table with some odd deals you've negotiated with people. You're doing the IP stuff right. You're doing the contractor stuff right. So that's the broad category of just making sure the basics are not going to be a problem. Just get that done right early on. Simply the most common mistake, I would say. The most common mistake is not being customer focused. So the most common problem we see is a team that comes into our office and they're really excited about their technology. And they've invented this really cool thing that they think if the world sees this, they'll come pounding on their door, right? And so we make the distinction between an inventor and an innovator when we characterize entrepreneurs. And inventors are guys that come up with something cool and they think it's cool, and probably their roommates think it's cool too, but it's not at all clear that most people will think it's cool. They're just not customer centric. Their goal in life is to get their technology into the market. That's their goal. The innovator entrepreneur, on the other hand, sees a problem, an opportunity out there, and figures out a solution and puts together that solution, takes it to the customers, and if the customers don't like it, the innovator says, oh, okay, fine, I'll do something different to make sure that the customers like it. The inventor's attitude, when the inventor goes to a customer and the customer doesn't like it, the inventor's typical attitude is, well, they don't get it, right? So that's the biggest mistake, particularly here where you have a lot of engineers with a lot of engineering orientation. It's very simple. I want clarity on what it is you do. I want something that's compelling. I want to understand what it is you do better than everybody else on the planet and by what factor. So I want something that's compelling. And I want credibility. I want some validation that all of these things that you're promising can indeed be true, such that at the end of the pitch, I go, wow, that's amazing. When can you come back? So that's what I'm looking for. And what we normally get is something much less than that. We normally get these long dissertations on the market trends or long dissertations on technology trends. And I really want entrepreneurs to focus it down, on these simple things. What are they doing? What's so compelling about it? And why can I believe that what you're saying is true? Part of which requires that you be clear about how you're different than everybody else in the market that's doing what you're doing. So if you go to our website, you can see some additional information about kind of what we look for in a startup. There's actually a little scorecard that we have for entrepreneurs on what makes a startup compelling to us. The biggest thing that's going on out there that makes our lives exciting and creates huge opportunities for entrepreneurs and for us is that pretty much every single industry on the planet is undergoing unbelievable change, thanks to the combinations of technologies that have come about in the last, roughly 20 years, right? So between the internet and, almost ubiquitous access to information in real time, the mobility revolution and the ability to be connected almost all the time, and then some other interesting things that are going on in healthcare and in material science. Pretty much every corner of the world you look at is undergoing some turmoil. One of the most resistant industries on the planet to change is education. And we're seeing even now education, it looks like maybe we're gonna see some interesting things happening. I guess that leaves the church as the last thing that's untouched by technology, but that's a different discussion. The church is also undergoing some really interesting things. My suggestion to entrepreneurs, wherever they are around the planet, is to first of all figure out what it is that is your unique, compelling differentiator that gives you an unfair advantage to go do what you're going to do. So I love the idea of entrepreneurs, wanting to be entrepreneurs, wanting to be innovators. It's really, really hard. And so I know entrepreneurs realize that, but the trick to being successful is to have that compelling differentiator, that unique, unfair advantage that you can use to build a big, sustainable, successful company. So focus on what is your unique and compelling, unfair advantage in pursuing whatever startup you want to pursue.